back to Exhaust Notes viewers. Today we are in for a treat. We have the GR Corolla. Dylan here ready to show you what it's all about. First, let's begin with a little bit of an interesting fact. The GR Yaris was never sold in America, and Americans weren't too happy about this. So, Toyota came up with a genius idea to throw all the GR Yaris bits and pieces into the bigger brother, the Corolla. But they didn't just throw it in and say job done. They tweaked it, fine-tuned it, gave it a bit more power. They added heaps of welds to the original chassis and even some under bracing. So the end result was a light Corolla with a lot of power, 300 horsepower out of a tiny engine, and a rally-bred underpinning, which should make for a pretty cool package. So let's check it out. Let's start from back to front, shall we? So, the boot, pretty small, not gonna lie. It's actually smaller than the GR86's boot if you're being nitpicky. But there's still plenty of room in there for your daily shopping run or your weekly shopping run. You can definitely still fit a helmet and your racing gear in there. But aside from that, there's not much going on in the back, and there's nothing wrong with that on such a race-focused car. Now, let's look at the rear, the back seat. The GR Corolla on the back is pretty basic. There's no air conditioning settings in here for your rear passengers. There's just enough room for me. You do have a USB and a 12 volt in the center, but other than that, all you've got is your cup holder and your window switch. No sunroof or anything like that. There is a spare armrest with 2 extra drinks here, but that is honestly it. 3 people in the back here would be pretty cramped. I wouldn't be going on any long distances, that's for sure. Only really for a last resort. In the front here, we have a very interesting layout. We have these awesome bucket seats designed for track use. They're all manually operated to save weight. You do have a really nice steering wheel that honestly feels a little bit smaller than normal. I'm not sure if it is, but it is so direct to the wheels. They really have a nice close ratio going on with this steering rack. And it is definitely, feels a little bit electronically assisted, but given the nature of this car, you don't feel detached for that reason. And it actually works really well, even with the onboard technology that is still present. Now, you might think this is a track-focused car, so it'll be very dumbed down, but I've got to tell you, it's really not. You still have your fully automated cruise control, so it keeps you in the lanes, brakes when the car in front brakes. It was honestly really easy to use with the manual transmission because this engine has so much low down torque. So I was quite impressed with that, and the head-up display is unreal as well. I do find it kind of interesting that your intelligent manual transmission button is on the right-hand side of your steering wheel, while your drive mode selector is above the gear selector, but your drivetrain selector for your all-wheel drive system is below the gear selector. So when you're trying to get everything set up for your sporty scene, you are kind of a bit all over the place. It would have been nicer if they were all in one central location, but that's neither here nor there really. Let me guide you through the infotainment and the gauge cluster. Here we have the mildly updated infotainment system on this Corolla. So I do find the map a little bit confusing when you're in the city streets. It kind of shows you as being a little bit of a distance from the turn when you're right at it, so you kind of got a little confused. You do have a head-up display that helps get rid of that confusion. So if you find the map confusing, the head-up display is much more precise for you, just telling you when to turn and what the street name is. Aside from that, you do have your normal music settings and car settings in here. You can go into customize a few things like your door controls and your lights and your custom driving mode. We do have powertrain, steering and air conditioning settings for that. Underneath that, you do have a pretty standard Corolla set of air conditioning options, and I do quite like the buttons. It's all rather premium, same as this dash. Underneath there, you do have a wireless charging bay, and your phone does actually clip into that, which I thought was rather nice. Now, Android Auto is plugged in, so there is a hidden USB just there for it. You do have your seat warmer settings here. Below that, we have our drive mode and traction settings with the shifter. And even below that, we have our front to rear powertrain settings for your diffs. So basically where you want to send the power. So front is 60/40, rear is 30/70, and track is 50/50 through the all-wheel drive system. And this really big in-your-face handbrake. I love it. The dash has a really nice customization ability here. So we're in eco mode. We can change on either side what we'd like to see. And there is a million options here, which is rather nice. They're just your settings for your driving aids, but you can see here we can go to our right, and if you hold OK, then you can go over here and you can actually change what you want to see. Very handy. I quite like it. For me, it is nice to have the fuel consumption, the boost gauge, and the revs in the middle. Now if you change your drive mode, normal, sport, we do get that nice top line rev limiter there. You'll notice how the 0, 2 and 4 are really closely together because they don't want you to spend much time in there. This is designed to rev out this car. Really nice dash. Very simple, very track focused, like most of the things in this car, and I'm not mad about it. It's good. It's good. It's nicely customizable. That's what we want to see. Now for the fun part, how this thing drives. The first thing I want to point out is they gave it more horsepower, but it is carrying a bit more weight than the GR Yaris. So the 0 to 100 time is roughly the same. And we gave it a quick test, and honestly, it was rather easy to launch. You got to, with an all-wheel drive system, you definitely want to, you can't really dump the clutch. You have to feather it out and roll out of it. So here's a quick little viewing of that. The handling, this is the fun bit. This is the cherry on top for this car. This is what it's all about. So they've made it light. You have very track focused suspension, which makes it a little bit rough on your uneven back roads. You also have a lot of sound deadening removed, so you can hear there's a lot of road noise in the car. You also have all the vents on this car being real. They actually do what they're supposed to do. It's not just a plastic clip in to look good. But when you hit the bends in this car, the chassis is so rigid and everything is hooked up so well that when you're in the rear bias mode, you get that real lovely lift off oversteer from the car, and it really allows you to come in very hot into the corner, lift off, point the car, the back will correct with you, and then you can just pin it out of the corner. And when you nail that, it feels lovely, and you know that you got the peak time for that corner out of this car. You know that you're really getting it dialed in, and it is very easy to get to that point with this car. You don't have to be a track professional to really feel that you're nailing the apexes. This makes the car very easy to drive quickly, especially around a racetrack. I would suggest that this car is for the car enthusiast, and that's what GR is all about, the car enthusiast person. So what I mean by that is it's not here for you to just drive to work in, okay? There are plenty of other models, there's plenty of other Corollas that do that well. This is for the person who wants to go to the racetrack, and the back seats and the boot are just there for the odd day that you need them. So definitely don't be one of those people that buys this and just goes to work in it, because one, I don't think you'll have as much fun as you could have in your car, and two, you're hindering someone else's ability to have such a nice car. This is for the people, this one. Let's hit some of these corners so you can get a feel of how nice it turns in. Listen to that sound. This little engine is punchy as. Come in, turn into the apex, the back rotates, and then you just floor it out. This has no rev cut, so you can hit the limiter in your gears if you need to. As you come down with the intelligent manual, it blips the throttle for you. I love that function. I also like how they took care in this car. Look at this, nice turning, it's so precise. I really love how this car handles. It entices you to drive in a fun manner all the time. You'd want to be at the racetrack as much as possible in this thing, you really would. Some lovely corners. in, brake a little late, turn it in sharp, and power out. Unreal, absolutely unreal. These do have pretty much semi-slicks from the factory, Yokohama Advans. They are a very sticky tyre, which does help a lot. The pickup is unreal. I really like how this car is centralized on that real track bred experience. You have so much noise of the engine, the intake, the blow off valve. At low RPM you can hear the gear linkages change. You hear a bit of the road noise. That exhaust sounds unreal. They've really made it an experience to drive this car. And even though it's got drive modes, honestly, I've been having way too much fun just driving it in sport. I really have. I love it. This car entices you to drive it in a fun manner all the time. Mind you, it can still do the daily, it can, but it is not designed for that in its foreground. That is an afterthought. It's an if you have to. The JBL sound system in here is pretty decent. I will give it that. I do find it funny that there is no armrest in the center, just so that you don't bump anything with your gear changes, and you have a very, very fat handbrake. I am impressed that one thing that the Toyota Supra had that everyone whinged about was the buffeting with the windows down. Now I do find it interesting that they've actually done a good job of trying to address that on this model, even though the windows are very different. You actually have a couple of little tiny fins on the side mirror, as well as a single fin on the car side, just in front of the side mirror, to help break up that wind coming through there, just to give you less and less wind buffeting. And I really wish the Toyota Supra had that. I hope they do add that to the Supra in the future, because that is a really key change that car needed. This car is very unique. It is. I used to own a XX STI, and this honestly felt so similar on the first drive of this, but it is more refined. It is dialed in. It is if you took a XX STI and really fine-tuned everything about it to what you wanted it to be, Toyota have given you the perfect car in their version in the Corolla GR. For me, this car is an ultimate hot hatch. It really is. I do find for the $68,000 price tag that is rather high when you compare it to some of its, well, now extinct rivals. But that being said, it is a rare car. There is not many of them coming out here at a time. I have called our local Toyota, and they did say that the 5 they got allocated are already snapped up. Now there are some being marked up heavily online, so be careful of that, and ring around. Hopefully there is a Toyota dealership somewhere that has ordered one that is not yet snapped up, and you can get it for its original price. There is also news of a more lightweight, believe it or not, version coming. Now you would have seen overseas it was called the Morizo edition, and it had a forged carbon roof and the rear seats removed for an extra strut brace. That is going to be on its way. If you are looking for one of these and they're already all snapped up, I highly recommend keeping an eye out for when you can pre-order that model. And we can't wait to drive it, because this already feels lightweight, and this is already a track star. Adding a little bit less weight, a little bit more torque, that thing is going to be an absolute beast. I really like how the design of this car has a little bit of historical harpbacks on it, like the GR4 on the side sill, or the side skirt, reminds me of the GT4 written on the wing of the old Celica GT4 rally car. Very similar. I also like how the styling itself is not like it is a completely different car to its underpinnings. When you see this next to a Corolla, it looks like a pimped out Corolla. It's got wider guards, wider wheels, the extra exhaust being 3 on the back. They took it and modified it. It looks like like we used to see, where people would take their cars, modify them, and take them to the track, and it was a modified version of the original. This really has that feel about it, and I like that. I don't like when car companies reinvent the wheel for the hodded version, and it looks completely different. So Toyota did a really good job of taking this and just making it look how people would want it to look if it was the hodded up one. Alright, the wrap up on the GR Corolla. Personally, this car is amazing. I love this style of car. I used to own WRX STIs and WRXs. This is in that category. Your Golf Rs, your AMG 45s, your old Lancers. This is in that category, and they are an amazing car to own. They really are. They have the ability to do everything when you need them to, but they have that track focused level as well, and this is probably one of the most track focused ones, I think, on the market. For me, the price was a little steep from new, but they all sold, so that tells you that it wasn't priced too high. So people love them, and that is amazing. Well done Toyota, well done Gazoo Racing. I think that the level that they have honed this for the track is truly an achievement. It really is. This thing is very special on a racetrack, and I wish I got to take one on a racetrack myself. I like how everything is so driver focused. It was all focused on the driver's feel, the driver's engagement, and the driver being able to extract the most out of the car as easily as possible. And they still kept in creature comforts on the tech side. You still have heated seats, heated steering wheel, drive mode selectors, wireless charging. Android Auto is plug-in, but wireless Apple CarPlay. It still looks kind of like a Corolla in here. Not too much has been removed. And the JBL sound system is impressive. They've nailed it there. So overall, great car. If you are looking to buy one, I say enjoy, my friends, because you will have a ball in this thing. I cannot wait to go to a track day and see these things tearing up. I really can't. I can't wait to see some lap times on some local tracks like Wakefield or Eastern Creek. I really think it'll be an impressive time. And on that note, thank you very much. Please like and subscribe, and we will do our best to get you some more exciting content ASAP. Thanks guys, thank you very much. See ya.